And boom goes the dynamite.
Hello, 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 everybody. Happy Tuesday. Welcome into another edition of Daily Dive. I'm your host, Renee Washington, and you are locked in as we're talking about a lot of things going on around the NLL and the PLL, starting with some trades. So joining me, producer Mike, as we have our top story presented by the Daily Dive store, breaking news. And that breaking news is you can check out NLL merchandise at the Daily Dive store. But also the breaking news is the fact that Jake Fox has been traded. So the trade news continues. Jake Fox traded to Albany. The Firewolves send draft picks to Panther City. Fox was with the Riptide to start the season. He played with them for 3 games and is now headed back to Albany. The Jake Fox carousel continues. Panther City was 4-2 in his 6 games there. He had 3 points during that span and now moves to Albany, a team that we've said has been driving the struggle bus. Well, they made a change to try to see if they can improve some things. Producer Mike, what are your thoughts on this trade and what it means for Albany as well as for Jake Fox?
What it means for Albany and for Jake Fox is we got a QB1-ish. I've never seen him been given the keys to an offense in the NLL yet, but he has shown at times an ability to score. And when he was actually in New York with the Riptide, so the state of New York beforehand, he actually had 3 goals in 3 games and then goes to the Panther City. I'm assuming he lives back up north because he wasn't as effective or just didn't need him. They're too stacked up in Dallas. But I think it's great for Jake Fox. One little fact for me, when I first started watching the NLL hardcore last season, he was the first guy I ever saw do a dunk. And it made SportsCenter the top play. And so I had him on a show called the AM Drive and so I think I have a personal connection. He's a technical friend of the show. But I'm very happy for Jake Fox because he might be the guy now.
Okay. So there's a Jake Mike connection here. And yes, we do know the Daily Dive and the AM Drive give you some good luck charms whenever you get to be on the show. So Jake Fox, hoping to take some of that good luck to Albany. I think they definitely need to make some moves and continue to make some moves. I would imagine as we think about trades, there are some teams, Albany being one of them, that absolutely needs to be assessing right now and figuring out ways they can be better, quite frankly, win games, score goals, stop giving up so many goals, not give up 20 goals to Swarm. So, there's a need in Albany right now to make some changes. Panther City, a team. Hey, the numbers don't lie. I'm just calling it like it is. And for Panther City, it's also you get to move a player, and who knows, this might be a small move to open up for something else for Panther City. So,
are they low? You're saying we're stacking the deck more over there, and
I think so.
And Dallas Pests.
Look, they might not have the fans in attendance, but they're finding ways to get their team winning games. Or at least
they're forcing the fans to be there. I'll tell you that. Like they keep winning enough. Who knows who shows up?
Fans have to take notice once you're winning games. And for some teams that are not winning games, or maybe just not getting the results they want, you have to wonder if they're also sitting in the front office looking to make some trades. Some other trades, you look at Vancouver, San Diego, for various reasons. And people might say, why San Diego? Well, the Seals are although top of the standings in the West, still struggling, still defensively and definitely between the pipes. So with Frank Scigliano, makes you wonder if we're going to see some more changes, especially on the defensive end for a team like the Seals or in general for Vancouver. They did get a win, but there's more to be done. They've got a long way to go, Mike.
And by the way, with Ryan Lee coming back for Colorado, you thought the West was deep. Now it's about to get way deeper because he came back and scored the 10-point piece. Yeah, he's ready to go. And maybe he was waiting until he was fully healthy because they're still in the playoff hunt. Boy, oh boy, it's gonna get mighty. So can we call this like this kind of struggle bus for the good teams, like the golden struggle bus, or like the golden or the struggle?
They've got like the double-decker struggle bus they're driving. Too. Yeah,
the struggle double-decker bus.
Yeah, like the bus looks nice, but they're still driving the struggle bus. And
or the limo. San Diego's got to be like one of the worst, best teams I've ever seen in my life. That's an incredible feat.
It is an incredible feat. And the thing is, there's still a lot of regular season left for the most part, where sitting at the top, you imagine some other teams might be able to catch them. We talk about Colorado. What a great time for Ryan Lee to return back onto the field. They're still in the mix, and now you add Ryan back into it, and that's absolutely going to help them take steps. Calgary, although they had and Saskatchewan both had losses this past weekend, they weren't thrilled about. They're still right there also. You know, when you look at San Diego, they're not far. They're within reach at 6-2. That a 7-4 Calgary or 5-4 Saskatchewan, and even a 6-5 Panther City, that's who my money's on, is going to be able to climb those standings. So that top 5 group from San Diego down to the Mammoth, and honestly, everybody's kind of in it in the West except for Vancouver.
Besides Vancouver.
Yeah, to be honest, when you really, the Desert Dogs are now 4-5 after this past weekend.
Which is really insane. Like you talk about like a bad loss for Calgary. I feel like losing to Las Vegas at this point looks pretty good.
It does, actually.
It doesn't look bad. And Calgary actually had a good defensive game if you look at the stats on that one.
Valid point. And when you look at the West, all 6 teams, we're not counting Vancouver, they're team number 7, from the Desert Dogs to the Seals have 4 to 7 wins. Like they're all right there in the mix. The win percentage is not far off. You know, from the top team to the Desert Dogs, they're not far behind. So it's not fully ridiculous to say the San Diego Seals are the worst, best team right now that we possibly have seen in a while across sports. I'll
make a prediction. I know it's not going to happen because it's in Canada compared to Vegas. I'm going to say Vegas gets cute and adds a star, like a Keegan Ball would be nice, but I know like it's hard when they live in the area or whatever. I know that's a tough aspect of it, but if we're just playing by the rules of just trade and get better, I'm going to go Keegan Ball to Vegas and say the Desert Dogs get super cute as an expansion franchise.
The tough part about that, if you're Vancouver, you trading one of your best players to a conference opponent.
I would take Vegas, like 3 first-rounders from Vegas. Heck yeah, I would. They're still an expansion franchise.
That is true. Vancouver's in need of some changes and being able to bring in some draft picks to start building for the future. You might short-term lose the battle, but long-term win the war if you're able to move Keegan Ball and bring in some draft picks and start planning for the future. I think the Desert Dogs would be fantastic if they can add in, that solidified big-name player, whether that's an underrated player or not, somebody that is going to help carry them offensively. But it's wild to think about. The East is tight too, especially at the top, but the West is wide open. It's really anybody's conference still.
They're all drawing their guns and who's going to shoot first. Right. Hey, so they call it March Madness. I don't know if that's like trademarked or copyrighted. But I feel like we should call it, because somebody told, I saw weeks ago on Twitter that the NLL starts like a lot of trades happen in March. So we got some NLL trade madness here. So this will be fun. It started early.
It's the March
Mayhem. It was hot there for a minute too.
It is. It's going to be. It's March Mayhem. I'm gonna take this is like the spin-off of March Madness, so we're not getting flagged. But no, in all seriousness, It is going to be craziness, madness, mayhem, chaos,
anger.
Because we're in the final third of the regular season. And this is the time where teams are really trying to make that final push to be as strong as they possibly can to get into the playoffs, as we talked about yesterday with Callum Crawford of Panther City, and then make sure you're geared up for a deep run towards the title. So let's talk more about this. We've got to continue this conversation, especially since we talked heavily about the West between yesterday's episode with Callum Crawford and Panther City and today. But in the East, there's also a battle at the top. So after this quick break, we're going to get into the three-way tie that is the Beast of the East here on Daily Dive. Welcome back to Daily Dive. I'm your host, Renee Washington, joined by producer Mike, as we are talking about the craziness, the March mayhem of the NLL right now. In the West, a battle going on as there's not much separation between the top team in the San Diego Seals and the number 6 team in the Las Vegas Desert Dogs. It's still anybody's conference up for grabs. Well, it's also definitely still anybody's conference up for grabs in the East, especially with the three-headed monster at the top of the standings, looking at an 8-2 record. We've got the Buffalo Bandits, the Rochester Nighthawks, and the Toronto Rock all fighting for that number 1 spot. We love to see it. And looking ahead, first, before we look ahead actually at their schedule, who do you think is better after this last few weeks? You know, we've seen kind of the ups and downs. We've seen some injuries. We've seen some changes in who the top team is, especially between the Nighthawks and the Bandits. But in your opinion, as of right now, after week 13, who is playing the best lacrosse?
For me, it's 1,000% Buffalo.
1,000.
Right. But I think we're about to find out very quickly, just as I still am one of the doubters of Rochester, especially after they lost 2 of 3 or whatever. I believe Rochester's next 3, though, is going to be very telling as to how their future looks this season, like how their season is going to play out. I know they play the Rock this weekend, which we'll get to soon, but Bandits have not missed a beat without Josh Byrne. And you mentioned that they're going to need him later. It may have a long-term effect if he doesn't, hurry up and come on back. I'm kidding. Get well soon, buddy. But I still think the fact that they have still been winning, with just Dane Smith being Dane Smith, shows you that they're okay. I'm still worried, can the Rock just keep on relying on a guy like Nick Rose, just keep on being A++ every week, and then having like a brutal injury to Mitch DeSnoo? Because that's a big loss we found out with the two-way stuff. I think Rochester, we're about to find out who they are pretty soon.
Yeah, no, it's a great point you bring up, Mike. I definitely think as we get into week 14, there's 22 weeks in the regular season. So the last regular season games are the final weekend of April 29th. That's pretty quick. That's coming up very, very soon as we're nearing the start of March. Here we are at the end of February. That's exactly two months. I can do math. Almost to the day that we are going to see the regular season come to an end. And so as we get into this segment presented by Fanatics, you can check out the link to that in our social media bio to get the discount codes as you're shopping on Fanatics for NLL merchandise. You got to be buying some merchandise for your top teams, but I don't know who that top team is. I agree with you. I think it's encouraging to see how Buffalo has been playing without Josh Byrne. But as each week goes by, I keep wondering, when will it be not too late, but just tough for Josh to come back into the mix? He's been injured for a substantial part of the season. And now as we're getting towards the postseason, you want to be hitting stride at that time. And to have game fitness, game reps, game chemistry drop off because you're not on the field, when he comes back into the mix, you have to wonder how that will impact the Bandits, positively or negatively. Now, up next, they do play Halifax back-to-back, and then they go on to play Colorado, which, as we talk about the return of Ryan Lee, That Colorado-Buffalo game is going to be very exciting.
That's the game of the year.
It's gearing up to be. Both teams are definitely looking like they're well, Colorado has some climbing to do, but by that point, I think we might be talking about a different Colorado team.
Ooh.
And then for the Nighthawks and the Rocks, they do face off this weekend, which is going to obviously be the game to show who somebody's got to lose. Somebody's got to lose that one. But then after that, for the Rock facing Georgia and Philly in their next two games you should win. And same thing for the Rock. They face Philly and Albany. These are the games you have to get. You have to take care of business. You have to get the win. You've got to go in and make sure you're not letting a sleeper like the Wings or Halifax knock you off.
The Wings, hey, I was going to say the Wings. Talk about the Mammoth. I know they just got back Ryan Lee, but Wings made that trade for Mitch Jones, and suddenly they look like they could not be pushed around come postseason. And then, of course, Georgia is getting randomly hot. So if you lose to the Rock, you could very well easily lose to the now red hot Georgia, Georgia Swarm, who have at least confidence at this point that they can win a game. I do think Philadelphia is a dark horse in there, though.
When you win a game after going winless through the first 7 games, who knows what's possible? And of course, Georgia does play Albany again, so they have a chance to get another win this weekend in Week 14. And then looking ahead now, as you get ready to face off against the Nighthawks, they might have a little extra pep in their step. They might have 2 back-to-back wins going into that game. But
because you got to think there's going to be a war between Toronto and Rochester, and kind of like what just happened with the Celtics and the Sixers, they both lost the next game.
Sometimes those really tough games just mentally and physically take a lot out of you. As we were talking about with Callum Crawford yesterday, 90+% of these guys don't live in the same city that they play in, so their home games are away games. And they're working through the juggling of day jobs through the week
and
traveling on the weekend. So when you have those hard weekend games, it's not like they just come back the next day and it's like, let's get back to work. Right. Sometimes it takes 2 or 3 days to get back into fully even wanting to get back.
What you said about the Friday thing, like they may not get a practice. And I never thought about that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's wild. Because they are flying in, and that's why Nick Rose was talking about the chemistry and the advantage that Toronto has, which is why I started drinking the Toronto Rock Kool-Aid, because they do have a lot of guys that live in market, so they're able to practice or do pickup. You think about it as a team. Sometimes, hey, let's go lift, let's go grab lunch, let's shoot around. You don't have that access when your team is spread all over the country. The world. And for Toronto, they are a team that has players, a lot more of their core players in the area. So that's always something that, in my opinion, does play a factor, because access chemistry is huge.
Yeah, and the fact that they do, the NLL is so career oriented outside of being a professional athlete. It's so sad when Callum Crawford, of all people, has to differentiate the two. It's like they should be paid way more. But hey, that's because ESPN they like the PLL better, which we'll get to. I tell you what, though, I think you made a good point with The Rock, bringing that up again, because in a league that's so, you can, flip a coin, Renee, and, see who's the best, I feel like that might be the difference.
Absolutely, sometimes could be the difference. You have guys that are a little bit more rested because they didn't have to fly in the night before. And I just remember having conversations with players, and that's their routine. If you play on a Saturday, you're flying in on Friday. That's a home game, and you're flying in. Those are things you don't think about as a fan. That absolutely plays a factor into it. So, lots to keep an eye on there. I mean, I just wonder within the East, Halifax, Philly for the East, and then definitely on the West. Well, everybody in the West right now, but Halifax, Philly are 2 of those teams that you can't take lightly. Halifax sitting at 500 now on the season. The Wings, you talk about with bringing in Mitch Jones, has been playing better. So I don't think these are easy games. As we've talked about before, there is no easy game in the NLL.
The fact that Halifax and Philadelphia might be a tier 2 or tier 1, but we'll go tier 2, is pretty scary. Halifax is an insane offense. And then Philadelphia adds the veteran presence of Mitch Jones. That's monstrous.
Those are some dangerous tier 2 teams. And then you have a Georgia Swarm team that's now scored 20 goals and was able to win and hold Albany to 4. I know it's Albany who we say is driving this struggle bus right now, but you hold anybody to 4 goals in a game. That's
insanity.
Remarkable. That's remarkable.
The new look Firewolves, by the way. Go Jake Fox.
Yes, and that's another thing. How will Jake Fox come into Albany? We still have to see if Albany is going to start turn a corner and start to maybe let go of the reins of driving that struggle bus with Jake Fox coming into the mix. But what we do know is there are some champions, and they're not in the NLL. The PLL, there was a champion crowned. And so coming up after this break, we've got our final segment, The Last Brew, talking about the PLL Championship Series won by the Chrome this year. So stay tuned after this quick break. We're shifting from the NLL, jumping on over into the PLL. Stay tuned. Hello. Welcome back to Daily Dive. I'm Renee Washington, joined by producer Mike. We've been discussing trades happening across the NLL, discussing the battle of the Beast of the East, the trio at the top of the standings, and the Wild Wild West, wiki Wild Wild West, with all the teams competing in the Western Conference standings. And now, time to get into our last brew by B-Res Coffee Company. Check out B-Res Coffee Company and use the code DailyDive at checkout to see some phenomenal samples. Well, in the alphabet, after the letter N comes O and then P. So we're shifting from the N to the P. Premier League. So bad. The Premier League had championship series games, which were super interesting. The championship series was a different format. It was a sixes format. It was fast-paced. It was quick games, tournament style. Got to see the teams in action. And that was won by the Chrome. They knocked off the Atlas, who was undefeated going into the championship. And the Chrome won that game. And after having a slow, sluggish start to the championship series, came back, won it. But there were some positives and there was some negative backlash as well. Our friend of the show, Graham Perot, was saying, he tweeted out, if the Stars weren't there, was it really a championship series? On paper, it was a championship series. Producer Mike, after watching that game, we saw an 0-2 PLL Chrome go on to win 3 straight games, win the inaugural championship series, and saw it all go down on with a lot of feedback from ESPN and following from ESPN too.
Boy, money talks a lot. I'm telling you what. That's all I mean. This is by pure obligation, Daily Dive fans. We are talking about the PLL. You're welcome. Next up, I'm kidding. To quote Graham Perot verbatim here, how do you call it a championship series when a good chunk, great word, of your star players are not there? Is the PLL without Schreiber, Blaze Riordan, Jeff Teat, Rambo, Dane Smith, etc., even the PLL? Thank you. You know, I would love, I don't want to say like, I don't want to use this term gun to your head, but last day on earth, okay, you're like life or death here. If NLL players, like if these stars had to choose PLL or NLL, and like one of them paid like a lot, like if they were to choose like which one were to pay a bunch of money and that could be like their career, I would say I would personally choose the NLL because the home aspect of it, the stadium aspect. I mean, we're literally the fact that they had to rip off the NLL so bad with the Sixers thing is so comical in my opinion. It just blows my mind. Like it's so fast paced. We're in week what, 13 or 14 now? Of this fast paced stuff? Yeah. I know ESPN's got a lot of money involved. I understand that, but good God Almighty, I saw it as the simplest plays being top plays. Like we could have filled up top 10 lists by that logic all season long in the NLL. What are we doing here? We had a goalie score a goal. And we're doing some little behind the back pass that happens every day. Okay, cool. Great Sixes tournament, lies. Seriously.
Mike is not happy, guys.
Nope.
Mike is not happy at all. Holy moly. All right. Let's take a beat here. Let's process this. So there are several layers to this. One is I like the concept. I think it's engaging. It's fun. It's something that's unique. It was the inaugural and first championship series, trying to do something to generate some excitement ahead of the season. The tough thing is the PLL already overlaps with the NLL, but now there's no way you're getting NLL players. Like, you didn't even try. You didn't even try to schedule at a time that would I don't even know when that would be, but you didn't even try to schedule at a time that would allow for NLL players to even consider playing in it. They're in the midst of, like, this isn't a preseason tournament versus week 13 when you're fighting for, I don't know, in the East to be the top team, or if you're Jeff T to just win some games, or if you're in the West, you're trying to see if you can climb the standings in that wild, wild West. The point is, you're not focused on a championship series. You're not even thinking about that. So it's a chance. It's like a showcase or an exhibition games. These are like exhibition games. But as we know with exhibition games for any league, for any sport, they're just more for, like, you know, the family to bring their kids out, just have something to do. But the diehard fans aren't locked in and excited about exhibition games. You know, we're not excited until the real season begins.
I'm getting a phone call here from Jeff T. Hey, Jeff, what would you rather do? Would you rather play the Rochester Nighthawks in a thriller that was the second longest game in NLL history, or would you rather play the championship? Oh, okay, quick answer. That was not Jeff T, by the way. I wish it was.
Yeah, for those that are tuning in, please understand, Jeff T did not call us here on Daily Dive. One day he will, but that day was not today.
Hey, we're no longer enemies with their social media team. I'm feeling better now.
Mike taking breaking phone calls in the midst of the show to break some news here on Daily Dive. This just in. None of the NLL players probably wanted to play in the PLL championship.
Dane Smith had a bye week and he still didn't show up. Is it like a contract thing I'm being ignorant to?
That's the thing.
Like, their contract cannot be that restrictive. There's no way.
Know what? From a routine standpoint, as an athlete, how are you going to just throw in more games? Like, you're in the midst. We were just talking about today and yesterday with Callum Crawford how difficult it is. He was saying he was just getting back on Monday back into his routine after playing in week 13. They played on Friday, excuse me, get my days mixed up. They played on Friday, and it was Monday. Callum Crawford was just getting back. Granted, he's 38. He's a little bit older. He's got a little more miles.
He's still in his 30s, Renee.
Got a little more mileage, but he's still in his prime 30s for us 30-year-olds. But the point is, he's giving us a snippet of what it's like as an NLL player, where you are flying all over the place for home and away games. You're on the road a lot. I mean, he's not flying, but he's driving 4 hours. You know, that's not convenient either. You're going to your game. It's like, oh, game day. Let me get my game day bag ready and then go drive 4 hours to my home game. Like, what? Or let me go hop on a quick plane and fly commercial to go to my game. When do you fit in? When do you fit in a PLL championship series? Even if it's a bye week.
Do I right? That's what I'm telling you. Do I want to go wash the feet of Paul Rabel, or do I want to sit back and kick my own feet up, man? Come on now. Paul Rabel's never coming on the show for that reason, by the way.
Renee Washington has just disconnected from the show.
Yeah, that was she does not condone or accept.
What was that you said?
Oh, guys, that's it for the Daily Dive today.
That's it for this show.
Right.
Some controversial takes coming from that side.
Yeah. Here, I'll do this for I feel bad now.
Put yourself in the corner.
That's right.
Nobody puts producer Mike in the corner. Look, We get it. I think it's great to try to generate some excitement. I think it's great to try to generate some buzz. You got ESPN putting some top plays on
Which is
Sports
cool.
Center. You have fans engaging and tuning in and watching. So it's something. The championship series was at the St. James on Sunday. We saw that final game played out as the Chrome defeated the Atlas 24-23. A thriller that was. But it looked like a football score. I think the idea was there. I just don't know within the course of a 12-month calendar schedule where it makes sense to do this. Not here though. But I love the idea. You know, sometimes you got to just take that leap of faith and your parachute does not open and you fall flat on your face. And I don't think they fell flat. I think they like rolled. But either way, I think that the idea was there, the execution was like
in all seriousness, and I'll take a step back here like you just did. Thank you for that's why you're the host. I take a step back here and say I'm glad it brought eyeballs because if fans like that, we're in week 13. I'm just saying, like in all seriousness, like we are in week 13 of a league that literally does it every week, every game. But PLL, I dig it because they do have the contract with the big boys, and it is growing the game. And that's what we're here for.
There you go, Mike. There you go. There's the optimism.
I want
Because
a baby yak.
at the end of the day, here we are talking about it. And so you have to give a hats off to the PLL for at least creating some buzz, getting us talking about lacrosse, getting more eyeballs on lacrosse, more lacrosse screen time, more players in action in lacrosse too. These are guys that, okay, the NLL players aren't playing, but other players get a chance to go out and play the game they love. So for that reason and many others, there are a lot of positives that come with it. And we love to see it. We love to see teams doing what they can or leagues doing what they can to generate buzz. Shout out to the Philadelphia Wings as we get ready to wrap up for announcing they're going to be having a petting zoo.
Yes.
It's a silly thing, you know, just doing some great things, providing fans with the exciting atmosphere, watching the game, and then getting to go check out some alpacas and goats and whatever else, or snakes, I think was on the list.
Yeah, there's also a tarantula.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. I have a question. Like, I have like two favorites. I don't know if I'd rather the tarantula. I'm like, really? You want me to pet this thing? I'm a 10-year-old. I'm like, are you serious right now? I want a hand and hope I get bit by it and become Spider-Man. But I want a baby yak so bad. Can you go to that game and get me the baby yak? Like, just commandeer the baby yak.
I'm gonna just show like, here it is.
Yes, it's so hairy. That's great marketing, by the way.
I love it. I want to, because you get to pay. Petting zoos are expensive, I think. I don't know. I've been to like 2, but you get to go to a petting zoo for a great price.
And you might see a lacrosse fight. I'm kidding. They might.
It's an indoor petting zoo, which I always think is cool.
Yes.
You get to bring the kids out, and you get some food, some drinks, some sports. It's something for everybody. I love it.
That is great, by the way.
I love it. I'm gonna go to the petting zoo and steal you a baby yak.
Thank you.
So now that I have to go plan for my masterful way of stealing a baby yak from the Philadelphia Wings petting zoo, somebody might be coming to get me right now to pick me up.
Right.
Thank you guys for tuning in to another edition of Daily Dive. But we're having fun. We're talking lacrosse. In all seriousness, we love to be able to talk about the game, the growth of the game, getting more conversation around it, eyeballs on it, followers, whether it's the PLL, the NLL, whatever that may be, the petting zoo. It's all fun and it's all exciting, and you should be tuned in. So be sure to also check out Daily Dive each and every day as we're bringing you new episodes, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Give us a follow at Daily Dive Lax, and we'll see you back for more Hump Day Madness here on Daily Dive. Have a good one, guys.